So I went on vacation last week, and as I was driving down the highway, I suddenly realized that I had made a mistake in the last video that I had done about how to boost yield on a note without increasing the interest rate. So if you recall from the last video, what we were doing is we were looking at a simple note. In this case, present value $1,000. So you're making a $1,000 investment. You're charging someone 10% interest. It's a 12-month loan. And because private notes are, that I do anyway, are always completely amortizing, the future value at the end of the note is paid off entirely. So the future value is zero. And then if we put in these numbers, we find out that the payment on this note is $87.92. Now, Raul had asked the question, how do we boost the rate of return without increasing the face rate of the note? And in the final example on the calculation video, I had given the scenario of somebody requesting a $200 deposit, a security deposit, in order to do this loan deal where the deposit would be returned after the last payment was made. So how does that impact our note? So in the video, what I did is, because we're receiving $200 from our borrower up front, we're actually only investing $800 of our own dollars, okay? But we're still collecting that same $87.92 payment for 12 months. So when I go into my calculator and I put 800 negative as the present value, compute my rate of return, it gave me, if you recall, 54.44%. Now, here's where I made the mistake, and it's an easy mistake to make, and that's why I wanted to turn this into like a learning exercise. Because all the notes that I ever do are fully amortizing, I usually don't do anything to adjust future value. But in this particular case, after the last payment is made, we have another cash flow. $200 has to go from our hands back to the borrower to return the deposit. So future value in this case of this note is not zero at all. It's negative 200. So when I put 200 negative as my future value and then compute my rate of return, it actually goes down to be more in line with that other example I gave, to 15.54. Makes sense, right? So as you can see, the increase in yield isn't as much as the calculator would have led us to believe because of that final cash flow. Of those payments that we collected over the period of 12 months, we have to end up giving $200 back to our borrower. Now, this example, though, does remind me of a great example that I learned from a fellow named Tom Henderson in his Note Professor notebook, and I also heard Tom lecture about it several times in recordings, and it's the 10 for 12 deal. And basically, the way that it works is anytime you have a person that wants to borrow some money from you, and you simply say, I'll lend you that money if you give me every month 10% of that amount for 12 months, it always works out to the same rate of return. So let's take, for example, $1,000, and 10% of 1,000 is 100, so the payment is $100, and the future value will be zero because it's going to be fully paid back over the course of time. This deal, so let me clear my calculator here. 1,000 negative as my present value, 0 as my future value, 12 as my number of periods, 100 as my payment, compute my yield. This deal creates a yield of 35.07%. And it doesn't matter what the numbers are. As long as you give out a certain amount and charge 10% of that amount for 12 months, you will always end up with 35.07% every time. It's called a 10 for 12 deal. And the reason that Tom did it is he actually used it He uses this kind of deal when he's purchasing what they call partials. So people who have a note that runs for 15 years, he'll say, look, I'll give you, if your payment is $100 a month on that note, I'll give you $1,000 if you'll assign the next 12 payments to me, sort of creating an advance against the cash flow of that note. And every time he does it, no matter what the numbers are, if your payment is 10% of the amount borrowed and you collect payments for 12 months, you will always end up with 35% rate of return. Anyway, sorry about the mistake in the last time. I could have just deleted the video, but I thought, you know what? This is a mistake that people make from time to time, and it's important to draw attention to the ways that we can slip up sometimes. And I just wanted to turn it into a learning example. And I hope you continue to follow my videos, even though sometimes I'm not always on the ball. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. That's great. Don't forget, visit www.investlocalbook.com. Sign up for my email list. It's right down here under the welcome video. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.